Is there anyone there with us? Did you hear that? Can you tell us your name? Did you live here? Did you die here? Do you want to take a trip? Hello, everybody, and we are live. How's everybody doing today?
We're alive.
Alive. We are alive. Well, folks, welcome. We just had Lewis join us. Hey, Lewis. Hello. All right.
Hey, guys. Hey, guys.
Hey. It's been a while since the four of us have been on together, but
yeah, this is a good combination.
It is cool. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Oops, we lost Tim. What's happening here?
It's because we said
Tim will be back.
A good match for us.
Okay.
He said, I'm out.
Yeah, he'll be back. Welcome to Strange Journeys, folks. And believe it or not, we are starting season 4. Can you believe it? It was in May of 2019 that we started this, and we had like one season the rest of that year, and then two more seasons last year, and we are starting our 4th season. And like I've said before, we can call it whatever we want, but we've kind of broken it up into segments and calling it season 4. But as we get started, remember that we provide these shows first and foremost for you, the watchers, for your entertainment. We're not by any means and do not claim to be scholars or experts in any of the topics we cover. We're simply enthusiasts and storytellers who have fun with these topics while trying our best to respect individual beliefs. But remember, we are live. So whatever happens, happens. Nothing is rehearsed or edited out later. And what you see is what you get. And the only exception is our revisited shows. And Tim has joined us again.
I don't know what it's doing. It's having fun today.
Welcome back.
It's one of those days.
PUKWUDGIES are playing with it.
I guess so. Something's happening. Remember, thank you to the watchers for watching. We appreciate you being here. Now, how many caught our last show, Strange New Year? Oh, boy. I think what's going on is Dagny's puppy dogs are realizing that Lewis has a new kitty.
Yes. The kitty's down here next to my desk.
Oh, nice.
Playing around.
Okay.
Honestly, though, my mom has a cat that's like slinking around the room, and every once in a while they get a glimpse and go nuts.
Oh, yeah. That'll make them go bonkers. Anyway, who caught to the show our Strange New Year? Lewis and I did some strange New Year's tales. We had UFO sightings, Bigfoot sightings, ghost sightings. Lewis talked about actually a haunted hitchhiker type story, I guess you'd call it. Right,
oh,
Lewis?
Yes.
Yeah, that happened on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. That was kind of wild. So I hope you'll go back and watch that. That's pretty wild. Now, as we go on into this new year, we don't have anything set in stone. Not that I've ever had anything set in stone for this show. But our plan is this next season to focus on the different states that each of the ETs live in. And we'll call it strange, whatever state they're in. Like I'm in Alabama, strange Alabama, or Tim in Kansas, strange Kansas, Lewis in Georgia, strange Georgia. And we're going to focus most of this next season on those strange states. One that everybody's wondered why we haven't done before is Ohio. And Andrea Mateus lives there.
Speaking of strange,
yeah,
that
there's some
state
strange
is very
stuff.
weird.
And whatever state Dagny is in at the moment.
Oh, well.
I'm in Texas today. I live in Florida,
Okay.
but I want to do mine on Illinois because I feel like that's my home.
Oh, wow.
So we could do strange Illinois, but like I told the guys last week or week before whenever we were talking about it, we've got 50 states to choose from. And then we can expand to around the world. So, but as we get into this, remember, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
Click that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
Yep, what he said.
Right.
And also, if you can help support us, put this show together, I'd certainly appreciate it. And there are special things there just for Patreon subscribers, so go check it out. Our sightings videos are there. That's the only place you can see them now, where we've done talked about strange sightings. But also another way you can help us is to go to our merch site for strangestuff.live. And I was going to highlight some of the things here. Well, strangestuff.live.
I love the audio you put on the Patreon. I always dance.
Oh, what was it? John Bateas said one time he wanted to do a fire dance to it.
It gets you really hyped up.
Yeah. Well, you can get your Watchers T-shirt, your SJ pillows, your SJ mug. You can get bags, shirts, all kinds of stuff. So that's another way that you can support us. I got the banner rolling at the bottom, strangestuff.live. Just go there. Now, today we wanted to start the new year with one that has been batted about. The one show that I missed last year, where y'all talked about the Bridgewater Triangle, you talked about these little entities, and we've been joking around, kind of batting around the idea of doing a complete show on it. So we've decided to go ahead and do that. And so Tim's going to start us in right after the intro.
Now we're missing somebody as we get into this one, because last time that we talked about PUKWUDGIES, Andrew was here in the entire episode. We're just disappeared into laughter. I mean, it didn't go very well because she
I
went,
know.
I wanted one the moment we got there.
Well, I think she wants any that little dragon cryptid we showed in the sightings video. She was like, "Oh, I want one. Where can I find one?"
Right.
But anyway,
Everybody needs a
John,
PUKWUDGIE and a little dragon.
yeah.
Just what you need.
I love her little pet.
Yeah.
Her little ghost mantis pet.
Oh yeah, she just
Right.
got the
That's cool.
ghost mantis. Yeah.
Ghost
Hopefully
mantis.
she's watching and will comment on that. But John is sick, so she's having to be with the kids. So she's not able to be with us, and she was so sad because she loves PUKWUDGIES. So Tim, start us off with a story.
All right, we're going to start off. This is actually probably one of the most famous stories about the PUKWUDGIES. Maybe, let's make it clear, it's a maybe incident. In 1990, a man by the name of Bill Russo, who lives in the Bridgewater Triangle that we were talking about, he lives in the town of Raymond, Massachusetts, says that he took his dog for a walk. It was about midnight in the evening. He had just gotten off work. He worked second shift. And for whatever reason, he says that he went down a different road than he had ever been down before. Normally, they took a certain route. He said that the route they went, they called it the high tees route, probably referring to the overhead power lines that go by. As he was walking along, there were no other people, no other animals. After all, it is about midnight. He said it's a pretty quiet evening. They came to an intersection, and in the intersection, there was a street light that hung up above that cast down a circle of about 10 feet worth of light. And he says that he saw a small, strange creature step into the light. It had brown fur and a pot belly, and it repeated a message. First of all, it stuck out its hand and said, "Wan Chu, Wan Chu, air," and beckoned him like it was wanting him to follow it. It scared him to death. He didn't know what this thing was. The dog was barking at it. It's got its hackles up, growling, and it repeated it. "Ewan Chu, ear." And the creature stepped out of the light and stepped back into the shadows, at which point he got scared enough. He ran the rest of the way home. He said It took him about 15 minutes to run home from where he was with his dog as they fled the area. Looking back, he says, well, I don't know exactly what it was. He says, thinking about it now, it's more of the creature was saying, "We want you, come here," and that's why it was beckoning him. The internet calls this a PUKWUDGIE in several places. Other places, they claim that it is a small Bigfoot that is juvenile. When we look, though, at the language of the natives in the area, though, the words "Ewan Chu" can actually mean emergency. Something that is causing the tribe itself to have somebody that they want some help of some kind. But the language itself is almost obsolete. So where this creature learned it, who knows? But he never says it's a PUKWUDGIE. Let's make that very clear. He says it's a small brown fur covered creature.
Right. Well, when I was reading over all this, it reminded me of Lewis's story, and some of you may not have heard Lewis's story. You remember the one I'm talking about, Lewis?
The one where I saw the black mass.
Well, I was thinking of the one where you heard something speaking to you from the woods when you were at that camp on the mountain.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That was the little people.
Yeah.
And that story, I was working up in Cherokee, North Carolina, which is on the Qualla boundary, which is not exactly a reservation, but it's easiest just to call it a reservation.
Right.
Anyhow, I was up there doing the outdoor historical drama into these hills, and I had been reading about the little people. And so I had, I was a costumer at the time, so I had gone down to the theater to put my laundry in the dryer. It was my laundry night that night. And as I was walking down the hill to the theater, I was muttering the name of the Cherokee Little People
Right.
under my breath, just to kind of commit it to memory. So I didn't realize that actually calls them. So
Oh,
I get down to the theater, put my laundry in the dryer, and I started back up, and I hear this high pitched laughter coming from the woods next to the driveway, and so I stopped and said hello, hello, and didn't get a response, but I heard the giggle again, and I again said hello, and uh, again I hear this high pitched giggle. I just took off up the hill back to my room, and the next day I spoke to one of my Native American friends, and her response was they were laughing at you because you couldn't say their name correctly. And
wow.
I asked her for the correct pronunciation, and she said, I can't give it to you because you're white.
Oh,
And they're very protective of their language and so many of their
yeah.
customs. But um, I think in a lot of ways the Pukwudgie could be very much related, if not really the same entity. This is just
Right.
being seen through the eyes of the Wampanoag people of Massachusetts,
Right.
and I mean, perhaps these are the same creatures that we think of as the leprechaun or
Hmm.
the little people that people in Scandinavian countries tend to deal with, or maybe even the Fae.
Right. And I think I put that in some of our suppositions at the end of it. But what is a Pukwudgie? Well, according to the Wampanoag legend, Pukwudgies were a lot like leprechauns, like Lewis just mentioned, in that, and we've talked about Luckwudgies. I'm getting the names confused. Luckwudgies,
I like
Pecre,
that combination.
Pepricons or something.
The
But
luck
the
wudgies.
Yeah, Luckwudgies. There we go. But the name Pukwudgie literally means person of the wilderness, and they're not civilized, but they could trick someone, they could steal a child, lure people deep into the woods or off cliffs. It's rumored that Pukwudgies could possess the spirits of long dead ancestors. Most sightings of the Pukwudgies occur around New England, and police in the well, I'll save that for later. But Pukwudgies are the gnome or dwarf-like creatures found in the Bridgewater Triangle. So if you go back and watch our Bridgewater Triangle show, that's where we actually first started talking about Pukwudgies. They're said to stand 3 to 4 feet tall. They enjoy harassing humans. They love to stir up mischief and play tricks. And though they are known to be dangerous to humans as well, Pukwudgies are apparently able to appear and disappear at will, have been known to lure humans to their death in the woods. What's the forest there in Bridgewater? The swamp in the
Um,
triangle? Do you remember? It came up in some
I
of the
can't think of
research
the name of
again.
the swamp offhand either.
Yeah, I came up when I was going through some of the research, and I forgot to write it down. But they kidnap, stab people with their tiny little knives, and that was one thing John was having a field day with, was thinking of the little
Right.
spears, the little 2 foot spears, um,
Right.
and throw sand in people's eyes. Uh, Tim, you had some more descriptions there.
I sure did. According to the Wampanoag people of Massachusetts, they're actually a small gerbil-like humanoid. That they're very
Huh.
much rodent-looking with long fur. Some of them describe them as being able a cross between like a troll and a porcupine. The way that the fur is arranged on the back with the spikes that are there. There's an incident in
Yeah,
1996 in that swamp where there's actually two guys that are out canoeing. And as they're canoeing
right.
through the swamp, they come through across some of these creatures that are on a small island out in the middle of the swamp that are armed with arrows and spears. As proof, when they get out of the swamp, they actually show off this 2 foot long spear that's got a stone tip and leaves and feathers that have been tied around it. Much like the Native Americans would have done with some of their spears and stuff that were ceremonial.
Right.
But the Pukwudgies had thrown it at the canoe and it had stuck into the side of it. They kind of compared it somewhat with the color with an orangutan, that orangish reddish
Wow.
color that orangutans have.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we talked a little bit about them being gray in color with big ears, which is kind of interesting because one of the things that I was reading was that these things are actually a relation to the goblins of
Right.
Europe, and so it's possible that they're a crossover between it, but that they have an ability to use a huge amount of magic that is out there. They can change themselves into other creatures, whether it be some kind of rodent or rat or a porcupine, that they can also turn themselves into balls of light and fly through the air. That way they're able to disappear and reappear, often leading people further into the swamps or off a cliff if they're more aggressive, or possibly leading that person back out of the swamp and into safety. The Wampanoag tribe also says that they control PUKWUDGIES, or the spirits of Native Americans that they've killed in the swamp, that they bring the ghosts with them and will use the
Wow.
ghosts to help them attack people.
It's kind of like a video game. I know.
Right.
I've played Diablo a lot with my kids.
Oh
and
my god, I love Diablo.
Yeah, there's one. I think it's the necromancer that can actually zap the dead bodies that it's killed and use their spirits or their skeletons
Right.
usually to fight with them. Is
Yeah.
what it sounds like. So, all right.
It sounds like a Sonic the Hedgehog type creature.
Well, it looks kind of
Right.
like it with the
Yeah.
spiked hair and everything. You know.
But it sounds like it's smart though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I wondered where
Very
it came
intelligent.
from, and I
And
found
especially
the
if-
legend. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Especially if Russo's story is true, and it's actually, this his is saying, maybe those that are on the internet are saying this is a Pukwudgie, and it's speaking some
Uh-huh.
kind of form of English, that it's learning our language. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely something that is very intelligent.
That kind of makes me a little sad that it might have been asking for help and he ran away.
Right. Yeah.
Well, true
Especially
that.
if it's using that Wampanoag language and saying, "Ewan Chu, there's an emergency. Come. Something's
Yeah.
wrong. Come with me." So
But if would he have ever come back?
that's
Well,
a good question.
This description very much lines up with the descriptions of the Native American little people, in that many of these little people are really focused on helping just protect the members of that specific tribe,
Right.
and
Right.
that they will often play tricks on those outsiders or white people like me, and but they will also play occasional tricks on the Native Americans. I have a friend of mine who he and his brother were riding in the back of a pickup truck one night, and suddenly they were being pelted with little stones.
Wow.
And they believed that it was the little people who were just kind of playing with them.
Yeah. Well, you're right. These could all be the same beings, the same entities. And I
Mhm.
want to talk about that later on. Now, the original folklore, or the original legend, began in connection to Moshop, a creation giant believed by the Wampanoag to have created most of Cape Cod area. He was beloved by the people, and the Pukwudgies were jealous of the affection the natives had for him. So they tried to help the Wampanoag with their efforts, but their efforts always backfired until they eventually decided to torment them instead. They became mischievous and aggravated the natives until the Wampanoag asked the Granny Squannet, Moshop's wife, for help. Now, Moshop collected as many as he could. He shook them. He made picking them up and shaking them until they were confused and tossed them all around New England. Some died, but others landed, regained their minds, and made their way back to Massachusetts. Now, satisfied he had done his job and pleased his wife, Moshop went away for a while. In his absence, the PUKWUDGIES returned, and they again changed their relationship with the Wampanoags. They were no longer just a nuisance. They began kidnapping children, burning villages, and forcing the Wampanoag deep into the woods and killing them. So the Squanit, Moshop's wife, stepped in again, but Moshop, being lazy, sent his 5 sons to fix the problem. And then the PUKWUDGIES lured those 5 sons into the deep grass and shot them dead with their magic arrows. Enraged, Squanit and Moshop attacked as many as they could and crushed them, but many escaped and scattered throughout New England again. The PUKWUDGIES regrouped and tricked Moshop into the water and shot him with their arrows. Now, some legends say that they killed him, while others claim he became discouraged and depressed about the death of his sons. But after these events, Moshop disappears from mythology. So it looks like the PUKWUDGIES won out. But that's from mythosfandom.com, an article on PUKWUDGIES. Now, we also find one of the first mentions of PUKWUDGIE in modern literature with Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem, Song of Hiawatha. And I have an excerpt there. Who would like to read that?
I can do that.
Okay.
Far and wide among the nations spread the name and fame of Quasant. No man dared to strive with Quasant. No man could compete with Quasant. But the mischievous PUKWUDGIES, they, the envious little people, they, the fairies and the pygmies, plotted and conspired against him.
Okay, so Longfellow's kind of putting them all in the same basket.
Yes.
Calling them the little people, the fairies, and the pygmies. But it's kind of unique. I don't think I've ever read the entire Song of Hiawatha, but that intrigues me. And so now I'd like to go back and read it. Now I've found a couple of stories where people came across those. Who wants to read the first one?
A woman named Joan claims that she was walking her dog in the forest on a spring day in the 1990s. Her dog ran off the path and dragged her into the woods. When the dog finally stopped, she found herself staring at a strange little being standing on a rock. She described him as looking like a troll, 2 feet high with gray skin and hair on his arms and the top of his head. His torso made up the majority of his body and had very short legs. His eyes were dark green and he had large lips and a long canine-like nose. Needless to say, Joan was shocked to see the creature. She stared at it. It stared at her. Finally, her dog ran back to the path, pulling her away from the PUKWUDGIE. This weird encounter, it's a weird encounter, but here's the really weird part. Several times after seeing the creature in the wood, Joan would wake up in the middle of the night to see it staring into her bedroom window.
Wow.
Yeah. The nighttime visitations finally stopped when Joan moved to another county.
Wow.
Yeah, that'd be kind of creepy to wake up to have it staring in the window,
Oh my gosh. So she's just out. What is it with the dogs? I mean, the first guy, what's his name? Oh, where'd he go? Bill Russo was out walking his dog. Joan's out walking her dog. Maybe they're attracted to dogs. I don't know.
Yeah.
And one man claims he saw a PUKWUDGIE with fur, glowing red eyes, and a nose like a wolf. When it ran away from him, it released a disturbing moan.
Right.
So we've had 2 encounters with dogs. But this one, Joan said the dog pulled her away from it.
Right.
So the dog must have sensed something. All right. Who
starting to
wants
pull her to it and then
Huh?
pulled it away. No, wait, we don't want to mess with this.
Yeah.
The story you were just referring to with the the glowing eyes and the wolf nose.
Yeah.
That's the one I used to draw my image of what I thought one looked like
Oh,
from that
uh,
story.
yeah. I forgot to put those in here, Dagny. I'm sorry. I was gonna put them in
Oh,
our
it's all good.
notes here. Speaking of, while we're at it, I did forget we had pictures of what different artists rendering of the Pukwudgie
I
here.
like that second one. It's cute.
Yeah, I think they were trying to make it cute. That one looks like it did come out of a video game. Okay, I've got some more, but I'm gonna save them for later. Um, Lewis, tell us about this other Tom that saw one. It wasn't me.
Okay. Tom, not me.
Not me.
Not Tom Rouse. First saw a Pukwudgie when he was a teenager. He had snuck out of his parents' house one night to walk in the woods to clear his mind. As he walked down a path, he saw a glowing light. He said, I noticed a dim light, like in the form of a ball, in front of me. It was white and swelled, like it was breathing. It rose to my shoulders and then flew into the woods. Tom followed the light down the path until it disappeared. As he turned his head back home, he noticed he was not alone. A short man, covered entirely in fur, stood nearby. He was about 2 feet tall and had a nose like a wolf. The man ran off into the trees with an unearthly moan. Tom was unlucky enough to see a Pukwudgie a second time. One night he drove to one of the Freetown State Forest's parking lots and sat in his car. He turned off the engine and the headlights and turned the radio down low, enjoying the solitude. He soon realized he wasn't alone. Standing in the darkness, staring at Tom, was the same little man he had seen in the woods.
Wow.
The Pukwudgie was about 20 feet away, and he could see its eyes glowing red in the night. Abruptly, the engine of Tom's car came on of its own accord, and the radio suddenly blared loudly. In a panic, Tom drove home.
Wow. So a couple of things here. Um, Now, this is just a connection my brain's making. Um, Two of the sightings we talked about, they were walking their dog, and the dog reacted either positively or negatively. And then some of the descriptions say that it had a dog-like or wolf-like nose.
Mhm.
I wonder if there's a connection there.
Oh, that's a
Quite
good
possible.
point. What creeps me out is they keep mentioning the glowing ball, which, when I was a kid, that was the first paranormal
Uh-huh.
thing that I've ever seen was this glowing ball that was in front of me. So it's the first time I've heard someone really refer to the same kind of a thing.
Well, Tim mentioned earlier that one of the legends say that they can
Yeah, I heard that and I was like, huh.
change into a ball of
Transform into
light.
other creatures, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Are there Pukwudgies in Arkansas?
Well, that's the
That's a
unique
good
thing.
question.
Most of these sightings are in that Bridgewater Triangle area in Massachusetts. But I believe if they are what we're supposing that they're, the little people of Native American legend or the Fae or whatever, they're bound to be all over the place.
Mhm.
But maybe just the ones in Massachusetts have the spiky hair and the dog-like nose. I don't know.
There's a famous
Right.
tribal story about little people in the Pryor Mountains over in Idaho. Yeah, Idaho by Craters of the Moon.
Wow.
And supposedly they found the remains of one, and which have disappeared over time. All the remains that have been claimed to be found have disappeared over time, but they still
Well.
have a pretty good
Yeah.
image they took of that one, and it's hard to argue it.
Well, here's something else that I picked up from that last story about the other Tom. The paranormal things that are happening with the sighting. with the engine of his car coming on and the radio coming on. I say paranormal, meaning just out of the ordinary, just the strange stuff that happens within their vicinity. And they've been described as using magic. I mean, of course, we, hear about the poison tipped arrows and that kind of thing, but they also seem to have some kind of supernatural power.
Oh yeah.
Yep. All right. Now, in okay, I was trying to see what's going on in our private chat. Here's another unique thing where in Freetown, Massachusetts, which has already been mentioned, of course, this is like the epicenter of PUKWUDGIE sightings. The Freetown Police Department. Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Before we get to Freetown, then, Tim, show us. Dagny, do you mind if we show these pictures? Dagny?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's ignoring us now. It's
Tim
like,
added your
we did
picture.
No,
what?
you want me to show it from my end?
No, Tim's got them loaded in here. I thought we'd go
I've
ahead
got
and
them
show them before
loaded
I
in
talk
here
about.
now. I just moved them
That's what
across.
I thought you were saying. That's
so.
pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate
Oh
that.
wow.
She.
That's my
What, do
sketch.
you hate that one?
So that means they're just gonna get better from here. So Dagny took inspiration from some of these stories and drew her own PUKWUDGIE. Those are pretty wild.
And I think I'm missing one somewhere. But yeah, so.
Cool.
Those are really cool.
You rock,
Dagny.
Tim. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we need. All right, Dagny, we need to get some of your drawings on T-shirts.
Well,
Yeah.
that
Get them on T-shirts. Get them on some coffee mugs. Get them out there.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want to do a whole set of stickers that are cryptids.
Yes.
But I'm having trouble in my head deciding what to do because I can't differentiate between cryptids and mythological creatures.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Weird.
I don't know
creatures.
if there's a difference.
Yeah, really. All right. Well, I was going to say in Freetown, Massachusetts, the police department has ordered the placement of a cross warning sign to call attention and alert motorists to unexpected entries onto the roadway that may call for a reduction of speed or immediate action in the interest of traffic safety. The location of this crossing warning sign is on Slab Bridge Road, approximately 500 yards northwest of the entrance to the Freetown State Forest headquarters. However, these crossing conflicts may occur randomly over a large segment of the roadway and all along the property of the Freetown State Forest. Animals on the road are a major cause of crashes in the area of Freetown and are becoming more frequent. As a result, crashes can result in significant property damage or serious injury to drivers and passengers. In the past, the installation of deer crossing signs were the most widely used measure to reduce animal vehicle collisions. However, we feel that the installation of just another deer cross warning sign would only contribute to the overuse of these signs and lead to a general disregard by the motoring public. It has been widely reported that the Freetown State Forest is the home of these mythical creatures known as the PUKWUDGIES. The danger of the PUKWUDGIES present to the motoring public is that they can appear and disappear at will by using its magical powers. They are also known to shoot poison arrows near and across the roadway in violation of MGL Chapter 131, Section 58. It is believed that PUKWUDGIES also have the following traits and abilities. Now, this is from their official website, okay? They are masters at remaining undetected in the forest. They can transform into a walking porcupine. They can create fire at will. Don't worry, though. The Freetown Fire Department and State Forest Fire Control have countermeasures in place, and they control the spirits of their deceased victims. Unfortunately, we have no countermeasures for this. Lastly, so the crossing warning sign does not lose its effectiveness. We have contacted local experts to certify the continued use of the sign and when it should be removed. As of right now, the sign will be posted during the mating season of the PUKWUDGIE, where they are most likely to be crossing the roadway in search of a mate. This year, it is believed that that season begins and ends on April Fool's Day. As always, drive carefully. And that's
as you were reading that,
Where did I get that?
I had seen that one and I downloaded that. There is an image
Yeah.
of that PUKWUDGIE crossing sign under the Freetown State Forest, and I did put that up.
right.
I was like,
Yeah, I had that set up. I was going to put it up at the end, but you put it up during. That's cool.
right.
That is an actual sign in Freetown, right at the Freetown
Right.
State Forest, or the Freetown State Forest. That is actually from the NewBedfordGuide.com
Right.
site, with that sign saying, PUKWUDGIES crossing. Now, Tim brought up something that I wanted to talk for a minute about, and I think some of the pictures that I had picked up were actually from this, but they got integrated into the world of Harry Potter.
Right. Yeah. Which is really kind of crazy because you think about Harry Potter and how big it has been in recent years. The PUKWUDGIE, though, what I found out here as I was researching this, does not actually get added into the world of Harry Potter until 2019, just 2 years ago when they released the what is it, Potter World, which was like Pokemon Go for Harry Potter players. So that's when they finally add that to it. However, they bring it in the Harry Potter world. The PUKWUDGIE is a distant relation of those goblins of Europe, and they tend to be grumpy little creatures that complain about everything. Even one of the North American houses, if you're familiar with Harry Potter, you have the different houses. You've got Slytherin and Gryffindor, and
right.
in North America, one of those houses is the PUKWUDGIE house, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm thinking, well, there's your Slytherin group right there. They're going to complain about everything that is going on, and they talk about in there that the very first PUKWUDGIE that is encountered is a one called William the PUKWUDGIE. And I noticed you've got his image there from the Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's why I was holding
that one of the major wizards meets up with him, and the PUKWUDGIE, she saves his life. And so he is indebted to her and follows her around the entire time to try and save her life at some point, but he complains about it the entire time. So
I think I might know some PUKWUDGIEs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could probably be accused of being a PUKWUDGIE.
They just got an attitude, huh? Grumpy little. Hello. Phone's ringing. I just thought that was interesting that there was that it had been integrated into the Harry Potter world. Now, before we close out, I was wanting to talk about we've touched on this, but I wanted to close out by talking about our different possibilities here. Lewis mentioned the little people and the leprechauns. And I've mentioned this before. My favorite author is a man named Stephen Lawhead, and he writes a lot of historical fiction and fantasy books. And in several of the books, they mention the little people, and that actually comes from ancient Celtic mythology. The little people are known as the Tuatha De Danann, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They're the people of the goddess Danu, and they were one of the great ancient tribes of Ireland. The important manuscript, the Annals of the Four Masters, record that they ruled Ireland from 1897 BC to 1700. They became the little people of Ireland and gave rise to the leprechaun legend. In a series of books that Lawhead has written, he calls it the Pendragon cycle, and he's got 5, possibly 6, depending on, as a fan. Some people, some of us that are true fans add that 6th book in there. But in the 2nd book, what it is, it's a whole chronicle of it's a retelling of the Arthurian legend. And the 2nd book is about Merlin of fame. And Merlin is lost as a child, and he's raised by the little people and these Tuatha De Danann, and he learns their ways and is raised by them for 8 or 10 years until he's found by his family again. Um, but this author integrates this mythology of the little people into his books. Um, what are your thoughts? Little people, juvenile Bigfoot, leprechauns, the Fae?
I believe that they're probably all related in that they are all nature spirits, and they have taken on cultural aspects from the various cultures who recognize them, whether they be Native American or European or so forth, and that each culture gives them their own name and perhaps
Right,
ascribes certain things to them, but I think they may all be related as just various types of nature spirits.
right. I'm that gave me a question in my brain. We've talked about the little people today. Lewis, you mentioned it first, I think. Uh, I was wondering if the Native Americans gave a description for the little people.
Oh,
I
and
know.
each tribe has their own,
Yeah.
set of descriptors
Okay,
for the
okay.
little people.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones I was mentioning in the prior mountains by the Crow people,
Uh-huh.
in the Crow language they call them AWWAKKULE or Nurumbi.
Okay. I found a website here called the Little People Mystical Dwarves of the Mountain, from the Mount Oglethorpe Foundation. It says, where was that? Little people are classified into 3 groups: the Dogwood people, the Laurel people, and the Rock people. What you were just saying, Lewis, about nature spirits.
Hmm.
I mean, they classify them dogwood, laurel, and rock. The dogwood are always kind and doing good things. The laurel people are the ones always playing tricks and mischievous. The rock people are mean and should be avoided. Wow.
I know there are actually I've read articles about encounters that Native Americans have described in great detail,
Hmm.
and they describe it as if it's not anything paranormal. It's just a fact. They're there.
Right.
One of my Native American friends said to our culture, the paranormal is really just the normal. And
True.
I can recall among many of my friends, every single one of them had experiences and even continuing experiences with the little people.
Right. Yeah,
Maybe you have to have an open mind
true.
in a certain type of way, whatever that
Yeah.
way
Yes.
is.
Well,
Yeah.
it's too many times we in Western culture um, are not open to the paranormal, the supernatural. Some are in certain degrees, and the rest of it's taboo. Um, I know the way I was raised. There was a small window of supernatural activity, but the rest of it was evil and to be avoided.
Well, they
But
say that we create our reality from our mind.
Right.
So let's say that these things do exist, but over time, the Western people have blocked them out and blocked them out so much that we don't actually see them there anymore, even though they're there.
That's a good point. That's a
Yes.
good point. That we've just closed our minds to them so strenuously that they're just you can't be seen until we start to open our eyes. Now, some this back to this article I found. Some tribes believe that in order to keep the little people happy, one should leave a gift for the little people before entering the forest. I just watched a Prime series called oh, my mind just went blank. Um, all right, in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, they had the sighting of the little green goblins back in the 50s,
Right.
and it was Hellier.
Right.
Hellier is on the opposite end of the state from
Right.
Kentucky, and this group of investigators went into Hellier because they got a report of some more of these goblins in the Hellier community, and it's 2 seasons of it, and it's really strange because they never have a sighting of a little green goblin, but I'm just wondering if this is what they were after all along, the PUKWUDGIES, the little people,
Well, it's
But
interesting because you were talking about that. I'm thinking, who were the, 'cause my familiar with this is Southwest American Indians, the Apache and the
right,
Navajo. And I'm thinking, the Apache have a little people legend. And I was like, I couldn't think of what it was. And it's a ka is what they're called. And it's interesting because as I went and searched for it, this is the image that pops up of one of these creatures. And you can see
wow,
that it's starting a fire using a little spear, has got the fur across the
uh-huh,
back of its neck.
the
And
spiked hair,
the article says that there's a woman in the tribe that said that she encountered one, um, that it began chasing her dog down the road, and the dog ran off. When
wow,
she chased after it, she came face to face with a 2 foot tall little humanoid creature with a slightly muzzled human like face, pale gray skin, and short, stocky legs. She claimed that this creature
wow,
would then follow her home and terrorize her for several days afterwards, appearing in her windows at all hours of the day and night. And
wow.
where is that through? That's
Ah,
actually through the
yeah.
Navajo Mysterious Universe site. So,
Well, that's wild. I mean, it's the same description.
yeah,
I think some of the
yeah, it
stories
is.
I've read of them depicting it in the Native Americans uh, tribes, the
Yeah.
Shoshone have a few really good stories.
Right. Yeah, there are
Well,
quite a few out there.
I mean, I think what's happened is in the Bridgewater Triangle area of Massachusetts, they've obviously been given this name of the ones uh, that are seen there, but it seems like they are the little people of legend seen
Right.
around the country and even in other parts of the world. While they do have that unique privilege of being famous from being in the Bridgewater area and that
Right.
unique name, you know. So if you see one, you can say, "What the puck?"
We need some
Oh
bingo
man.
cards.
And there it goes downhill.
Well, guys, thank y'all so much for being with us on Strange Journeys today. We're going to call it on that. And if you have thoughts on Pukwudgies, please comment. Please let us know. And please come see us again. Is there anyone there with us? Did you hear that? Can you tell us your name? As always, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, Dagny. You guys were awesome, amazing. This was another fun show. Appreciate you guys being here. And like I said, we're going to try to start in 2 weeks our strange states. So not sure which one we're going to start with yet, but in 2 weeks we will be back live to share some more strange journeys with you. Goodbye, folks. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.
I